Before you scroll away, I need you to hear this. My name is Eleanor. I'm 72 years old. And last winter, I nearly died. I was locked outside in the snow until my lips turned blue and I couldn't feel my hands. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. My daughter-in-law, June, looked me in the eyes, smiled coldly, and shut the door. And then she told my son she had no idea where I was. You probably think, tell your son. But it's not that simple. Marcus is a good man. A kind man. He loves his wife deeply, and he loves me too, but he doesn't see what happens when he's not around. And I never wanted to come between them. So I stayed silent. Until the night I nearly froze to death. It had been weeks of rising tension. June had become cruel. The kind of cruel that hides behind politeness in public but reveals itself when no one else is home. She'd leave me meals laced with chili powder, knowing it would burn my stomach. She'd lock the bathroom door when I needed it most. She once poured boiling tea near my feet and said, "Oops." But Marcus never saw. She made sure of that. That evening, the snow had just begun to fall. Marcus had left for a late shift at the hospital. June handed me a bag of trash and said, "Take it out." Now, I hesitated. "It's snowing," I said softly, "and it's icy, my leg. Do I look like I care?" She snapped. "Move." I did as she said. I stepped outside, slippers soaked instantly in the icy slush. I limped slowly to the bin, struggling not to slip. I tossed the bag in and turned back, only to hear the deadbolt click. I dropped the lid and hobbled to the door. "June?" I knocked. "It's freezing. Please, open the door." No answer. I knocked louder. My hands were going numb. "June, please." I banged harder. The cold bit into my bones. I cried. I shouted her name. I begged. Snow swirled around me, thick and white. The wind howled. I could barely keep upright. My knees gave out. I slid down the door and curled into myself, shivering uncontrollably, whispering Marcus's name through trembling lips. I blacked out. The next thing I remember was light, harsh and white, and warmth, then the sound of machines. I was in a hospital bed. Marcus was beside me, eyes red and exhausted. "You wandered off, Mom," he said gently, squeezing my hand. "You collapsed in the yard. June didn't know you were gone. You could have died." I didn't respond. What could I say? "She's been so worried," he added. "She cried all night." Of course she did. I looked over and saw her standing in the corner. Pale face, perfect makeup, crocodile tears brimming in her eyes. She nodded at me, dared me to speak. I said nothing. I couldn't destroy my son's belief in love. Not yet. But that was the night everything changed. I had survived the snow. I had survived her cruelty. And I knew, deep in my heart, my silence could kill me next time. One day, I told myself Marcus would see it. One day, the truth would come out. And when it did, it would shatter everything. Have you or someone you know ever suffered in silence like me? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for the next gripping chapter. I returned from the hospital 2 days later, my skin raw with frostburn and my body sore, but it wasn't the pain that lingered, it was the humiliation. The house was too quiet, too clean. June had set a fresh bouquet of white roses on the table. A false gesture. A performance. She even offered to help me to my room, her voice thick with sugary concern while her grip on my arm was just a little too tight. Marcus was beside me, carrying my bag like a devoted son. "Just rest, Mom. June's promised she'll take good care of you." I smiled, but inside, something splintered. That night, after Marcus left for his overnight shift, June brought me soup. She placed the bowl on my bedside table and sat at the edge of the bed with folded hands and a plastic smile. "You're lucky, Eleanor," she whispered. "Another hour out there, and they'd have found you frozen stiff." I said nothing. "You didn't tell him." "I admire that," she went on. "But don't mistake that for power. You keep quiet because you know he'd never believe you. You know he'd think you were confused. Just like all old women eventually are. Her smile widened. So, don't push your luck. She stood up, turned, and left. The door shut behind her. I didn't eat the soup. The days that followed were worse than before. She became bolder. I woke one morning to find my clothes gone from the closet. All of them. She replaced them with old, oversized shirts from the rag bin. When I asked, she said she'd accidentally donated the wrong bags and smirked. She began locking the fridge during the day. I survived on bread crusts and tap water. One afternoon, I tried to go for a walk. Just a short stroll to the mailbox. June stopped me at the door. You're not going anywhere. What if you wander into the road again, she said, loud enough for the neighbors, if any were listening, to hear. She shut the door, turned the lock. Back inside, Granny. You want another little nap in the snow? She laughed. I didn't. I sat on my bed that evening and stared at the photo of my late husband. You'd never believe this, I whispered. You'd never believe what she's doing to your son's mother. Then came the bruise. It bloomed purple on my forearm after she grabbed me too hard during a fit over not folding the towels properly. When Marcus came home, I wore long sleeves. He noticed. You're always cold now. I smiled. Must be my age. That night, after she thought I was asleep, I heard them in the next room. Laughing, watching a movie, kissing. And that's when I realized something chilling. She was getting better at hurting me, and I was getting better at hiding it. But fate has its own way of tipping the scales. A week later, Marcus came home early, unexpectedly. June didn't hear the front door. She didn't hear his footsteps. But I did. I was in the kitchen, wiping the floor on my knees because she claimed I missed a spot. My back ached. My hands were red from the chemicals. June stood behind me, arms crossed. You call that clean, you old hag? I flinched as she kicked the bucket over deliberately, letting the water splash across my feet. Do it again? And then, Marcus's voice. What the hell did you just say? She spun around, color draining from her face. He was standing in the doorway, holding his phone. He'd recorded the last 30 seconds. Every word. Every kick. Every cruel command. June's face fell. Her mask dropped, and for the first time, she looked scared. Very, very scared. Marcus stared at the screen of his phone like he couldn't believe what he'd just recorded. But he had, and I saw it in his eyes, shock, confusion, and something else that hadn't surfaced in years. Rage. June took a step back. Marcus, baby, wait. That's not what it looks like. He didn't respond. She tried to move closer. She provoked me. She twisted my words stop. His voice was flat. Cold. I just watched you kick a bucket of dirty water at my 72-year-old mother and call her, what did you say? Hag? That's not twisting words, June. That's who you are when you think no one's watching. June's eyes darted to me, then back to him. She's manipulating you. You know how old people get, she's confused half the time. You said so yourself. I never said that, Marcus snapped. Don't you dare twist this around. Silence. And then he turned to me. Mom. His voice softened, cracked at the edges. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't know how to answer. My mouth opened, but no sound came. How do you explain to your own child that the woman he loves is your tormentor? That you didn't say anything because you knew how much it would hurt him? I didn't want you to stop loving her, I whispered. He looked like someone had punched him in the chest. June tried to recover quickly. Okay, yes. I lost my temper. That doesn't mean I'm abusive. I'm under a lot of stress. I didn't grow up around old people. I don't know how to. Marcus cut her off. That's enough. He walked past her, straight to the front door, and held it open. Leave. She froze. What? I said leave. I don't care where you go. But get out of this house. June's hands trembled. You're throwing me out? Over her. She's my mother. The woman who raised me. The woman you nearly killed in the snow last month, didn't you? June's face blanched. Marcus stepped closer. You thought I wouldn't find out? That she'd stay quiet forever? You forgot who I am, June. I watch people. I read people. I only needed a glimpse to know something was wrong. He showed her the phone again. And now? Everyone else is going to see it too. What do you mean? She whispered. Marcus didn't answer. Not directly. He turned and went upstairs without another word. She followed him, begging. I stayed at the kitchen table, hands trembling. 20 minutes later, I heard him come back down. He walked over, showed me his phone. On the screen, a video upload bar ticked up slowly. What is that? I asked. He looked me in the eyes. I'm uploading it. The part where she humiliated you. The part where she showed who she really is. My heart raced. To who? To everyone. By the next morning, it had over 4 million views. Her name was trending, but not the way she liked. June had built a following online as a wholesome lifestyle influencer, full of cozy recipes, couple goals, and fake smiles. Her world was built on carefully posed lies. But now, everyone could see. Thousands of comments flooded in. You monster. How could you treat an old woman like that? This is the real June. Unfollowed. Forever. By noon, she'd lost 500,000 followers. By nightfall, her brand sponsorships dropped her. Her name was blacklisted in PR circles. Her influencer agency removed her from their roster. She paced the living room in panic, phone in hand, calling people, screaming, sobbing. They don't understand, she cried. I didn't mean to. I didn't think he'd. She paused mid-sentence. The doorbell rang. She looked at Marcus, then at me, then back at the door. Marcus opened it. 2 officers stood there, badges out. June McKenna? One said. We have a warrant for your arrest. Domestic elder abuse. She gasped. No, wait, please, Marcus, please say something. He looked away. June screamed as the handcuffs clicked around her wrists. No. Marcus, please. Tell them it's not true. Tell them. Her voice cracked into a sob as she twisted to face him, wrists bound in front of her like a child asking for mercy. But Marcus didn't move. He stood behind the doorframe, jaw clenched, one hand still gripped around his phone. He didn't look at her. One of the officers gently but firmly took her arm. Ma'am, you're being arrested for felony elder abuse. Anything you say, I know my rights, she shrieked, then immediately turned pleading. Please, don't do this. I'm not a criminal. Marcus, you love me. You said you loved me. Don't let them take me, not in front of the neighbors, please. But the neighbors were watching. I saw them through the curtains, Mrs. Henley from across the street. The Rivera kids standing wide-eyed on their lawn. Cell phones out. Filming. For years, June curated every moment of her life for an audience. Now she was the show. They pulled her down the front steps in her designer robe, barefoot in the snow. The same snow where she left me to die. How quickly the world turns. She screamed Marcus's name until the police car door slammed shut. And then she was gone. Marcus didn't speak for hours. He sat on the couch with his head in his hands, elbows on his knees, silent. I brought him tea. He didn't touch it. When I finally spoke, I said only, you did the right thing. His voice was hollow. Then why does it feel like I killed someone? You didn't, I said quietly. You saved someone. He looked up at me. How long has this been happening? I hesitated. Then I told him everything quietly, carefully, how she'd locked the fridge, hidden my medicine, made me clean the floors on my knees, and smiled while doing it. I showed him the bruises. The burn on my wrist from the tea kettle she accidentally bumped into me. Marcus turned pale. His fingers balled into fists. I never saw it. I never saw any of it. Because you didn't want to, I said gently. Because you loved her. The next morning, the doorbell rang again. I thought it was the police, maybe paperwork updates. But it was her. June. No handcuffs. No makeup. Her hair was tangled. Her eyes swollen. She was still wearing the police-issued thermal blanket over her shoulders, shivering. Marcus froze in the hallway behind me. "Please," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Don't close the door. I just got released. I made bail. I don't know where else to go." "You shouldn't have come here," Marcus said coldly. She sank to her knees on the porch. "Please. Just listen." Then, to my shock, she crawled forward and fell at my feet. She clutched my ankles like a child. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I became. I let fame get to me. The comments, the validation, the image. I was obsessed with being perfect online. And you reminded me I wasn't. I blamed you. I hated you because I was so empty inside, and you were so strong even when I tried to break you." Tears streamed down her face as she buried her head against my knees. "I deserve prison. I deserve worse. But please, if you can just look at me, just say something, I'm begging you." Marcus didn't speak. Neither did I. She crawled over to him next, clutched his legs. "You loved me once. Please, please. If there's anything left in you that believes I can be better, help me." And that's when I saw it. The mask was gone. For once, this wasn't a performance. This wasn't for cameras. This was June, stripped bare, shattered. "Give me one chance," she whispered. "I'll spend the rest of my life making it right." Marcus looked at me. Then he turned and walked away. She collapsed on the doorstep in silence. The door stayed open for a long time, but no one moved. June lay motionless on the porch, her face buried in her arms. Her breath left soft clouds in the winter air. Marcus stood halfway down the hall, turned away, his fists clenched so tightly I thought his knuckles would break. I closed the door slowly. She didn't resist. She didn't even look up. For the first time since she came into our lives, June McKenna had no fight left. That night, Marcus didn't sleep. I could hear him pacing upstairs, floorboard to floorboard, the rhythm of a man unraveling under a storm of memory. I sat in my chair, wrapped in a quilt, watching the flickering light of the news cycle chew up June's name. Every outlet was covering it now. Influencer arrested for elder abuse behind the lies. The real June McKenna? She left her mother-in-law to die in the snow. Shocking video goes viral. Her sponsors issued statements. A major beauty brand dropped her. Even her old college revoked an alumni feature. Her fall was faster than anyone imagined. But the biggest blow? CC the DA wanted to pursue full criminal charges. They were making an example out of her. And unless Marcus or I stepped in, June would face a trial. A public, devastating trial. The next morning, Marcus finally spoke. "She'll never come back from this," he said quietly, sitting at the kitchen table with a coffee he hadn't touched. "Not socially, not legally." I looked at him. "Do you want her to?" He didn't answer right away. "I hate what she did," he said. "Every time I close my eyes, I see her sneering down at you, kicking that bucket. And then I think, how many times did she do worse when I wasn't home? How many things did she get away with?" I nodded. But he added, his voice softer now, "I also see the woman who used to sing to herself in the bathroom while brushing her hair. The one who held my hand when I got laid off. Who made my birthday feel like Christmas. Who," he stopped, eyes glistening. "Who I loved. Deeply. She's still in there," I said quietly. "But only you can decide if that's enough." Later that day, something unexpected happened. June's lawyer called Marcus. The district attorney had fast-tracked the case. They had 3 weeks until trial. June's public image was radioactive. The video was admissible as evidence. The state was prepared to push for 3 years in prison for felony elder abuse, plus civil penalties. But there was one loophole. If I, the victim, wrote and signed a formal letter of forgiveness and Marcus submitted a plea for leniency, the case could be closed. No trial, no conviction. But only if both of us agreed. Marcus looked at me. I said nothing at first, but I thought of her trembling on the porch, her words, her tears, and most of all, I thought of what forgiveness really meant. Not forgetting, not excusing, but choosing not to let bitterness devour us. 3 days later, we went to the courthouse. June stood alone by the wall, hair tied back, no makeup. Her eyes found mine the moment I stepped inside. She didn't speak. She didn't move. Marcus handed the letter to the clerk. I signed it, hands shaking. The judge read it silently, then nodded. Case dismissed. No charges. No jail. But a warning that would follow her for life. When we stepped outside, June was still there. She dropped to her knees again. But this time, not screaming. Just crying. I don't know how to thank you, she whispered. I placed a hand on her shoulder. Live differently. That's thanks enough. Marcus didn't say anything, but he didn't walk away this time. For the first few days after the court dismissed the charges, June didn't speak unless spoken to. She moved through the house like a ghost, barefoot, silent. Her shoulders slumped forward as if the weight of her own name crushed her spine. She wore plain sweatshirts now, hair pulled back without effort, no filters, no ring lights, no fake giggles. Her phone, once surgically attached to her palm, sat face down on the kitchen counter. Dead. Forgotten. The silence was uncomfortable, but peaceful. Until the 4th day. That morning, I heard something that froze me where I stood. Scrubbing. Real scrubbing. I walked slowly toward the kitchen, and there she was. On her knees. In yellow gloves. Scrubbing the tile floor with a toothbrush and baking soda. No cameras. No performance. Just a woman trying to erase something deeper than grime. She didn't look up when she spoke. I made you do this once. I made you do it while your hands were swollen. I laughed when you couldn't get up without groaning. I didn't interrupt. I thought, if I made you weak, I'd feel strong. Her voice cracked, but I was never strong. Just loud. She kept scrubbing. Even when her knees ached. Even when tears rolled down her cheeks. I turned away, sat at the table, and watched. Not because I wanted her to suffer, but because I needed to see it. Not guilt. Not panic. But true effort. The next few weeks blurred into a strange rhythm. Marcus stayed busy, burying himself in work. He didn't smile much. But he was here. Present. Watching. June started cooking again, but not for show. For me. Small meals, simple flavors. She served me quietly and sat across the table with her hands folded, waiting to see if I'd say anything. Sometimes I did. Sometimes I didn't. She brought me tea every night at 9 p.m. sharp. She offered to massage my hands when they ached. She placed new slippers by my bed without a word. She cleaned the bathrooms, organized the cabinets, even replaced the cracked porcelain teacup she'd once thrown at my head. But none of this was penance enough until the snow came back. It was early morning. The sky outside was white, flurries falling silently. I opened the back door for air and froze. The cold slammed against my skin like glass. And then I heard it. A crunch in the snow. I stepped outside. June was in the backyard. In the exact spot where she once locked me out. Where I collapsed in the cold, shaking and helpless. She stood there in a nightgown and slippers. No coat. No scarf. Just tears, steaming on her cheeks. She turned when she heard me. I needed to remember. What it felt like. What I did. She took a shaky breath. I wanted to hurt you because I thought your existence made me less. But you never screamed. You never hit me back. You never stopped loving my husband. Or this home. The wind whipped her hair across her face. But I wanted you gone. And now? I can't imagine this house without you in it. Her lips turned blue. I rushed over and wrapped my shawl around her shoulders. She flinched, shocked. You still care, she whispered. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, I said softly. It means choosing not to throw someone into the same cold they once left you in. She broke down, leaning into me like a child. That night, she asked if she could sleep on the floor of my room. Not to intrude. Just to be near someone who forgave her when no one else did. And I let her. Because sometimes, redemption begins not with grand apologies, but quiet nights spent beside the people you broke, hoping your presence might one day bring them peace. It had been nearly a month since June's arrest. The snow had melted into gray puddles along the sidewalks. But the memory of her cruelty still clung to people's stares like sleet on skin. She hadn't left the house since the court hearing, not once. Until today. She asked me softly, "May I come with you to the market?" Her hands were folded in front of her like a child asking permission. I studied her carefully. No makeup. No show. Just fear. And maybe courage. I gave a small nod. "Dress warm," I said. We walked down the aisles of the small-town market together, side by side. I could feel the tension the moment we entered. Whispers. Heads turning. A frozen hush. The fruit vendor glanced at June, then looked away quickly, jaw tight. A woman from church pulled her daughter behind her like June had a disease. One of June's former fans, a woman who used to gush over her skincare videos, stepped directly in front of her cart and hissed, "Monster." June said nothing. She didn't flinch. Just kept walking. But then came the turning point. A teenage boy holding a bruised apple shouted from across the lot, "Hey, June. Want this?" And before I could react, he hurled it. It struck her in the shoulder. Hard. Gasps. Silence. June stumbled back, the apple rolling at her feet. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She simply bent down, picked it up, and walked over to him. She placed the apple in his hand. "You dropped this," she said softly. The boy blinked, stunned. His face turned crimson. He mumbled something and ran. The crowd watched her. No cameras. No drama. Just a woman who took humiliation and answered with humility. June turned to me. "Let's go home." That evening, Marcus came home and found us folding laundry together. "Mom told me what happened," he said, setting down his bag. "Are you okay?" June didn't look up. "Yes, I deserved worse." He walked closer, watching her hands. They weren't shaking. "You didn't throw the apple back," he said. "I wanted to," she admitted. "But that part of me, she's dying. And I hope she never comes back." Later that night, I found Marcus sitting on the porch steps. He stared out into the dark, eyes distant. "She's changing," he said. "I didn't think she could, but she is." "She's trying," I replied. "And trying is more than most people ever do." He nodded slowly. "I still don't know if I can ever love her the same." "You won't," I said. "But maybe you'll love her better. Wiser." He smiled, just a little. A tired, hopeful thing. And for the first time in months, the house didn't feel like it was waiting to fall apart. It felt like it was slowly, gently, stitching itself back together. It was Marcus's idea. "There's a community dinner at the church," he said over breakfast. Small crowd, no cameras, just neighbors. "Maybe it's time." June lowered her eyes. "You want me to go?" "I want to see if you can," he replied, not unkindly. "To see who you are when no one's watching." I said nothing, but my heart pounded. This town hadn't forgiven her, not yet. One wrong word, one wrong expression, and the brittle sympathy she'd barely earned would shatter like glass. But June nodded. "I'll go, if you both go with me." That night, she wore a plain gray sweater and jeans. No perfume, no lipstick, just a soft braid down her back and quiet resolve in her posture. We drove in silence. The church lot was already full. Inside, the fellowship hall was warm with the smells of chili and coffee. Conversations hushed the moment we stepped in. Marcus reached for June's hand just once and gave it the slightest squeeze. She didn't let go. We sat at a corner table. The first half hour passed in murmurs. Some stared. Some left the room. But others just kept eating. Until she arrived. The woman with the red purse. Tall, elegant, in her 60s. Perfectly ironed coat. Diamond studs. She marched right up to our table, slammed her purse down, and said, "You remember me, don't you, June McKenna?" June's breath hitched. Mrs. Langley. I remembered her now, Judith Langley. June's old boss. The one she'd publicly accused years ago of age discrimination to gain sympathy online. The same woman who lost her business reputation after June's video claims went viral. You called me a corporate snake with a Botox addiction. I lost my brand ambassador deal and 2 clients over your lies. June looked up, eyes wide with shame. I was cruel, she whispered. I exaggerated. For attention. And I never apologized. Judith's nostrils flared. So do it. Right now. In front of everyone. You humiliated me. You ruined years of my work. The entire hall had gone silent. People turned in their seats. Marcus sat frozen beside her. I leaned in gently. You don't have to do this now. But June stood. I do. She turned to Judith. Her voice shook, but not from fear. From truth. I'm sorry. Deeply. I used your name to make myself look like a victim. You didn't deserve that. I cost you your dignity and your clients, and I never made it right. I was selfish, addicted to praise. I told myself I was exposing injustice, but really I was just chasing clicks. Gasps echoed from nearby tables. I'm sorry, she repeated, her voice cracking. Not because you're standing here demanding it, but because you shouldn't have to. Judith stared at her. Then, without a word, turned and walked away. A moment passed, then another. Then someone clapped. A single, slow clap from a young woman near the drinks table. Then another. And another. Soon, it wasn't applause. It was a quiet wave of recognition. That something rare had just happened. Not performance, but growth. Back home, Marcus put down his keys and said, I thought she was going to fall apart. I smiled. So did I. But she didn't. She really is trying, he murmured. Not for a second chance at fame, but a second chance at being someone worth knowing. And this time, I believed him. It started with a cough. Dry, then wet. Then came the chills, the fever, the aching joints. At first, I thought it was nothing, a cold, a passing flu. But by the 3rd night, I couldn't lift myself from bed. Marcus was away on business for 2 days. The timing was cruel. The air outside crackled with a storm warning. Winds beat at the windows. And inside, I couldn't breathe without pain. I tried to get up, to reach for the medicine drawer, but the room spun. I fell back into bed, dizzy, burning. Then I heard her voice. Soft, hesitant. Evelyn? June. She stepped into my room, holding a tray. Soup. Tea. A thermometer. A washcloth. I heard you cough, she said. I'm here. She sat on the edge of the bed, her movements unsure. Like she was terrified of touching me, of being rejected. But she laid the back of her hand gently on my forehead and gasped. You're burning up. She helped me sit, gently lifted the spoon to my lips. I turned my head away. Pride, pain, fear, all of it twisted inside me. You want me to trust you, I rasped. But you used to let me starve. Her hand trembled. I know. You rubbed chili powder in my mouth. Made me kneel for hours. I remember every second. Tears filled her eyes. And I live with that every morning I wake up. She set the spoon down. I'm not asking you to forget, she whispered. But let me earn it. Let me take care of you, not to fix the past. Just to be different from who I was. She picked up the spoon again. Held it steady. And after a long silence, I opened my mouth. For 2 full days, she didn't leave my side. She cleaned the sheets, replaced the water, wiped my forehead. She stayed up through the night, humming softly when my body shook with fever. She made broth from scratch and rubbed my back with warm eucalyptus oil like my own daughter once had. Not once did she film it. Not once did she boast or sigh or complain. When Marcus returned and stepped into the bedroom, he froze. He saw June asleep beside my bed, still upright in a chair, chin resting on her chest. A book in her lap. My hand in hers, He didn't wake her. He stepped back, closed the door softly, and walked into the kitchen. His eyes were red when I saw him next. That evening, when I was stronger, June helped me walk down the stairs. I settled into my armchair. Marcus sat across from us. He looked at her long and hard, then spoke. "You didn't know I was watching earlier," he said. She nodded slowly. "I didn't. You could have done the bare minimum. Just brought water and gone. But you didn't." "No," she said quietly. "Because the woman who did those things to your mother, she doesn't get to live here anymore." Marcus exhaled. And then he did something unexpected. He stood up, crossed the room, and hugged her. Not tightly, not long, but with something real. And in that silence, held in the space between anger and healing, I saw the first thread of their love begin to stitch itself back together. The package arrived on a Wednesday morning. No name, no return address. Just a sleek black envelope inside, sealed with red wax. June held it with trembling fingers. Her face paled. "It's from her," she said. "Who?" Marcus asked, taking the envelope. "Riley Summers," she whispered. "My old collaborator, the one I started my influencer career with." Marcus frowned. "The one who helped you stage fake rescue videos for views?" June nodded, shame flickering in her eyes. "She taught me everything, how to spin pain into content, how to turn outrage into followers." I leaned forward. "What does it say?" She broke the seal. Inside was a single card. "We miss your face, darling. Come back for one more live appearance, our 3 million subscriber celebration. 1 hour, one mic, one chance to remind the world who you really are. Saturday, 7 p.m. Manhattan. Riley." Kiss mark below was a number and 2 words. "Let me know." That night, I found June in the attic. She was staring at her old ring light. Her favorite vanity mirror sat next to it, dusty, unplugged. In her lap were pages. Old scripts, posts, drafts, apologies that were never meant, lies that worked too well. "I was a brand," she said, "not a person. Riley, she loved that version of me, the ruthless one. And I think part of me still misses her." I said nothing, let the silence stretch. After a while, she turned to me. "Do you think people can really change?" "All the way down." I looked her straight in the eyes. "Yes, but only if they stop reaching back to who they were." Saturday came. Marcus watched her all day, quiet, unreadable. I could see the war inside him. At 5 p.m., June came downstairs wearing a simple navy coat. No makeup, just mascara. Marcus stiffened. "Are you going?" She looked at him for a long moment, then held up her phone. "I texted Riley," she said. "Told her I'm not coming." "And why?" He blinked. "What did she say?" She laughed. June replied, her voice tight. "Called me weak. A husband. Said I could rot in suburbia with my washed-up values." A pause. Then Marcus reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and showed her something. It was a photo of her, sleeping in the chair next to my sickbed. He had taken it that night. "You looked like someone I didn't recognize," he said. But in the best way. She stared at the photo for a long time. Then, slowly, she smiled. Later that evening, as the clock struck 7, the very minute she was supposed to step on stage in Manhattan, June stood in the kitchen, helping me knead dough for cinnamon bread. "Did you ever love that life?" I asked. She didn't answer at first. Then, I loved how it made me feel, but not who I became. We worked in silence for a while, the dough soft between our fingers, the oven warming the house with its hum. And when the timer rang, June pulled out the tray and said, with quiet certainty, "This smells more like home than 1,000,000 followers ever did." It was Monday morning when the firestorm began. I was drinking my tea when Marcus's phone buzzed, then buzzed again, and again, until he finally picked it up. His face went pale. He turned the screen to show us a video on every major gossip blog, TikTok, Instagram. Leaked audio of June McKenna mocking her dying mother-in-law and laughing about making her cry. I nearly dropped my cup. June's voice played through the speakers, sarcastic, cold, wicked. She cries like a broken faucet. Honestly, I should have just left her out there in the snow longer. My stomach turned. Marcus looked shattered. Is this real? June stood still. Her face was ghost white. Yes, she whispered. But it's years old. From the height of my worst moments. Riley, she must have saved every call. The internet had moved fast. By noon, June's name trended again, but not for redemption. June McKenna. Still a monster? Fake apology queen? New low or just the old her? The comments were worse than knives. Marcus's friends texted nonstop. Even the local paper had called for a quote. June didn't hide. She didn't scream. She sat at the kitchen table, opened her laptop, and typed. She posted a video, simple, raw. No ring light. No filters. Just her and the truth. That voice was me. The worst version. The woman who thought cruelty was power and pride was a crown. I said those things. I meant them then. But I don't anymore. I understand if you don't forgive me. But please don't think I'm hiding. I want the world to see the difference between a person pretending to change and one who is truly becoming someone better. To Evelyn, I'm so sorry. I never want to be that woman again. She ended the video with silence. Just her eyes, glassy but steady, looking into the camera. She didn't ask for sympathy or forgiveness. She just let it sit. And then she walked away from the computer. Hours passed. I expected backlash. Laughter. Scorn. Instead, something strange began to happen. Comments shifted. She didn't deny it. That's rare. This feels honest. At least she's not hiding like the rest of them. Then came something else. A message. From Riley. Marcus read it aloud. Didn't think you'd actually own up to it. You win, June. Just know your redemption tour ends here. I'm done. No more threats. No more audio. No more poison from the past. It was over. Not because Riley forgave her, but because June refused to run. That night, Marcus sat beside her on the porch. I don't care what the world says, he told her quietly. I saw how you held Mom's hand when she was sick. I know who you are now. June looked at me across the porch, her eyes soft. I used to need the world to love me, she said. Now, I just want to be worthy of the two people I hurt most. And for the first time since she came back into our lives. I believed she might be. It started with a dinner invitation. Marcus hadn't seen his old college group in nearly a year. Now they were all suddenly concerned and wanted to meet at their favorite bar downtown. He hesitated before going. June told him, gently, go. Don't avoid them because of me. I watched him leave wearing his quietest expression, the one he used to wear as a boy when he thought he'd disappoint everyone no matter what he chose. The door shut softly behind him. The clock ticked, and somewhere deep inside me, I braced myself. He was gone 3 hours. When he returned, his face was drawn, his eyes tired. He walked straight into the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and stared into it like it held answers. She's not a trending topic anymore, he said finally. She's a joke. A scandal. He looked at me, then at June, who had come in silently behind me. They told me to leave you, he said. That it's only a matter of time before you do something on brand again. June didn't cry. She nodded. Slowly, as if she'd expected it. I understand, she whispered. If you want to walk away, I won't blame you. Marcus stood frozen, then reached into his coat pocket, pulled out his wallet, and set something on the table. A faded photo of him and June. From before the lies, before the cruelty. A moment they'd once believed in. My friends don't live in this house, he said. His voice was low, shaking, but firm. They didn't see you caring for my mother. Holding her hand at night. Turning down that invite. Facing your past head on. He looked at me. Mom, they said keeping her here makes me weak. that it makes us both look pathetic. I didn't blink. I just said, then let them look. The only weak thing in this world is a man who can't think for himself. The next day, Marcus posted something online. It was a photo of me and June baking, flour on our faces, cinnamon sticks in our hands, laughing. His caption was short, "People change. I'd rather love a woman who crawled out of hell and chose honesty than worship a world built on filters and shame." That post got more likes than any photo he'd ever shared. The comments weren't all kind, but many were. "This is what forgiveness looks like. Respect for standing by real change. You just gave a lot of families hope." June read them all. Quietly, carefully, then deleted her old influencer account. Every last video, every staged laugh, every perfect photo, gone. She looked at Marcus. "It's time I let go of who I used to be, so I can finally become someone better for you, for your mother, and for myself." The email arrived in the middle of the night. Subject line, "One last chance to tell your story. $. June opened it half asleep, expecting hate mail or another tabloid trap. But this one was different. It was from a talent manager in Los Angeles. Polished. Professional. She read the message aloud over breakfast. "We're producing a docuseries about misunderstood women who've been wrongfully canceled by social media. We believe you are one of them. The world only saw one side of the June McKenna story. Let us help you show the other. Tell your truth. On your terms. With a 6-figure contract." Marcus scoffed. "They want to paint you as a victim." June reread the message silently. I watched her face. I knew that look, the ache of temptation. A fire flickering in the ashes of who she used to be. Later that day, a woman named Morgan, sleek, camera-ready, full of fake warmth, called via video. "I loved your confession video," she gushed. "Raw. Gorgeous. But imagine that story professionally shot, lighting, music, interviews." June sat across from the laptop, calm but tense. Morgan leaned in closer. "We want people to cry with you, June. Not at you. You'll talk about the snow incident, but from a trauma angle. I was unwell. I was raised harshly. I lashed out because I didn't know love. That kind of thing." June blinked. "But that's not the truth. I knew what I was doing. I wasn't mentally ill. I was just selfish." Morgan's tone shifted. "Look, redemption doesn't sell. But trauma does. We all polish the truth for camera. You give us a good story, we give you your image back." That night, the contract came in, $275,000 upfront. Streaming rights. Speaking opportunities. A ghostwritten book. All she had to do was let them rewrite her sins into sympathy. June sat in the dark for hours. Marcus didn't push her. But I did. I brought her a glass of water and said, "If you let them make you the victim, you steal every ounce of healing we fought for." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I could pay off your medical debt with this." "I'd rather die poor than see you lie for money again," I said. And I meant it. She stared at the contract until dawn, then picked up a pen and ripped it in half. The next morning, she posted one final message online. "I was offered a fortune to lie, to become the victim of a story I created. I said no, because the woman who left my mother-in-law in the snow was me. Not a trauma, not a misdiagnosis, just me. I live with that every day. But I won't lie to erase it. Some truths don't go viral. But they set you free." She deleted her account minutes later. No press. No interviews. No lights. Just silence. And something new in her eyes. Peace. It came at midnight. An unmarked envelope slipped under our door. No stamp. No name. Just a single sheet of paper. I found it when I woke for water. June and Marcus were still asleep. The note was typed. "You forgot to confess everything, June. What about what happened to Eva?" I stared at it for a long time. The name meant nothing to me. But when I showed it to June in the morning, she froze. Completely. Her breath caught. Her hands trembled. Marcus looked between us. "Who's Eva?" June didn't answer. She walked out of the kitchen. She didn't speak for hours. Then finally, as the sun was going down, she came into the living room and sat between us. "I thought I'd buried it," she whispered. "I prayed no one would ever know. But someone remembers." Marcus took her hand. "Tell us, please." June closed her eyes. Her voice barely rose above the hum of the fridge. Her name was Eva Mendez. She was my best friend, my roommate in college, and she knew everything about me, the ugly stuff, the lies I told, the way I manipulated boys just for the thrill of it. She swallowed hard. One day, she confronted me, told me I was toxic, said she couldn't be my friend if I didn't change. She even threatened to tell my professors about how I was cheating on my exams. My blood ran cold. Marcus leaned in. "What did you do?" June stared at the wall. "I lied. I told everyone she was the one cheating, that she tried to seduce my professor. I even planted a fake voicemail on the school's anonymous tip line. She lost her scholarship. She got expelled. She buried her face in her hands. I never spoke to her again." Silence filled the room. Only the clock ticked. And my heart. Marcus looked devastated. "You ruined her life." "I know," June whispered. "And I never tried to fix it. Not even once." I stood up, walked to the window. Because I saw the truth then. June hadn't just wronged me, she'd made a career out of stepping on people. Carefully, strategically. Now one of them wanted blood. That night, another message arrived. This one by email. Same sender. No name. No trace. "Tell the world about Eva. Or I will." With proof. And attached was a scanned copy of an old disciplinary report with June's name blacked out, but her fingerprints all over it. We were no longer dealing with the internet. We were dealing with someone who wanted revenge. The internet can find anything, except peace. That morning, Marcus sat down at his laptop and began digging. He searched old college records, alumni networks, online forums. It took 2 hours and a stroke of luck, but finally Eva Mendez. Portland, Oregon. Works at a nonprofit for displaced students. He turned the screen toward June. She stared at the image of a woman in her early 30s. Brown eyes. Tired smile. A quiet strength behind the exhaustion. "She's helping the kind of kids she used to be," June whispered. "Are you going to contact her?" Marcus asked. She didn't answer. That night, June paced the hallway like a prisoner deciding whether to unlock her own cell. By morning, she booked a flight to Oregon. She didn't ask if we wanted to go. She just packed a bag, kissed Marcus on the cheek, hugged me longer than she needed to, and said, "If she slams the door, I won't blame her." We watched her leave with nothing but hope and guilt weighing her down. Portland was gray and wet when she arrived. She stood outside the nonprofit's small building for nearly 20 minutes, clutching a letter in her hand. Then the door opened, and there she was. Eva. No makeup. No armor. Just a clipboard in one hand and a thermos in the other. Her eyes met June's, and froze. June took a step forward. Eva's face hardened. "Are you here to ruin something else?" June held out the letter. "No. I came to give you this. And to say I'm sorry. For everything." Eva didn't move. June placed the letter on the step. "I lied. I destroyed your future. You were right about me. I was toxic. I thought if I could make people love me, the truth wouldn't matter. But it always mattered. You mattered." Eva said nothing. Then finally, "Do you even know what happened after I was expelled?" June's voice cracked. "No. I was too cowardly to look." Eva nodded. "I lived in my car for 6 months. My family cut me off. I lost my visa. I nearly gave up. Until one professor, just one, believed I was innocent and helped me rebuild." June started to cry. "I don't want your forgiveness," she said. "I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know the truth from me, not the internet. Not an anonymous email." A pause. Then Eva said, flatly, I wasn't the one who sent that email. June looked up. You weren't. Eva shook her head. No. I cut you out of my life a decade ago. Why would I waste time now? June blinked. So, if Eva hadn't sent the message, who had? Back home, June returned quieter. Heavier. She gave Marcus the letter she'd written to Eva. He read it in silence, his eyes wet. She didn't forgive me, June said. But you forgave yourself, I said. That night, she deleted the letter from her laptop and burned the paper copy. She didn't need the words anymore. She had lived them. But just as we began to breathe easier again, Marcus got a message. A different sender. A new name. One we'd never seen before. You've made peace with the wrong ghost. The worst is still buried. And attached, a photo. Of me. Bound to a chair. Beaten. From months ago. When I thought no one was watching. The photo was old. But not that old. I was slumped in the kitchen chair, wrists tied behind my back with duct tape, lips cracked, blood on my chin. I hadn't seen this image before, but I remembered that day. Marcus's hands trembled as he zoomed in. June stared in horror. That was before I confessed. Before we reconciled. Yes, Marcus whispered. Which means someone else was here. Someone saw it. And instead of helping, they took a photo, I said quietly. Like a souvenir. The email came from a burner account. No reply option. No trace. The subject line was a riddle. You forgive too easily. But what if your forgiveness gets used against you? That night, we tore the house apart. Checked every smoke detector. Every painting. Every vent. June pulled down the old curtain rods. Marcus opened the walls of the attic. I searched behind every frame in the basement. Then I found it. A tiny camera, hidden inside a fake electrical outlet in the guest bedroom where I was once locked for 2 days without food. Marcus's face turned gray. That's not mine. June shook her head. I wouldn't even know how to install that. Then we all looked at each other. If none of us had put it there, who had? Marcus called his friend Blake, a cyber forensics expert. Blake came by with a toolkit and ran diagnostics on the hidden device. After 2 hours, he said, this thing isn't connected to Wi-Fi. Whoever used it had to physically retrieve the footage. And how recent was the last data pulled? Marcus asked. Blake glanced at the timestamp. 6 weeks ago. Right before June's confession went viral. That night, Marcus stared at his phone long after we went to bed. He was going through his old contacts. And then he said something that chilled me. You know who visited this house 6 weeks ago? I sat up. Who? He held up his phone and showed me a name, Tessa Gray. His ex-girlfriend. She dropped by to return some boxes. Said she wanted to clear the air. I left her alone upstairs for 10 minutes while I took a call. I felt my stomach twist. June blinked. You think she planted the camera? I don't want to believe it, Marcus whispered. But she hated you, Mom. And she really hated June. The next day, June opened her inbox to a new message. This time with a subject line that said it all, you'll pay if you ever try to look perfect again. Attached was a compilation video. Clips spliced together. Me being slapped, locked outside, dragged by my wrist. June screaming at me, calling me worthless. The worst moments. Edited like a horror film. It had over 97,000 views. The account posting it? An anonymous handle. But the IP address? Traced to Tessa Gray. Marcus didn't speak the whole ride. His knuckles were white against the steering wheel. He hadn't seen Tessa in nearly 2 years. Their breakup had been cold but final. Or so we thought. Now she lived alone in a chic apartment above a boutique bakery. She had a massive following online, wellness tips, emotional healing, confidence coaching. The irony made my skin crawl. She answered the door wearing a lavender robe and a perfectly fake smile. Marcus, she said sweetly, this is a surprise. He didn't return her smile. Cut the act. You posted the video. Her face didn't change. What video? He held up his phone and hit play. My face, bloody, gasping, terrified, flashed across the screen. Tessa's eyes narrowed. She stepped back. You shouldn't be here. And you shouldn't be filming abuse like it's a Netflix trailer. She laughed once. Bitter. Cold. Oh, please. You think you and your little trophy wife get to rewrite history? June tortured your mother for months. And now she's getting praise for crying about it online. Marcus's jaw clenched. She changed. She confessed. She's made it right. Tessa crossed her arms. You think that erases what she did? People need to see it. Over and over. Until the internet stops treating her like a survivor and remembers she was a monster. He took a step forward. You had no right. She pulled out her phone. And you have no proof I planted anything. No video of me. No fingerprints. Just guesses. I traced the IP. VPN, she said coolly. It'll never stick. Then she looked him dead in the eyes. Besides, I'm not finished. That night, another video dropped. This time, not just June. Me again. In the snow. Locked out. Collapsing. Tessa had edited in dramatic music. Headlines. Tags like #falseforgiveness, #behind closed doors, #not a fairy tale. It racked up over 200,000 views in 3 hours. June's social media imploded. Brands dropped her. Partnerships pulled out. Her followers turned. Hate comments poured in. And then, someone leaked our address. We shut down every account. Locked every window. Marcus changed all the security codes. But nothing could block out the fear. The next morning, Marcus made a decision. He contacted his most powerful friend, an ex-DEA agent who now ran private cybersecurity investigations. Together, they crafted a plan. Not to hide anymore, but to fight back. They began gathering real evidence, device logs, metadata, timestamp footprints, cross-platform postings, all linked to Tessa's accounts, aliases, burner numbers. By the next day, they had enough to bury her. But Marcus didn't want to go to the police. Not yet. Instead, he called her, met her in a public cafe, and pressed play on a new recording. His voice, earlier that day, I just want you to say it clearly, Tessa. You planted the camera, right? Then her voice, I did. And I'd do it again. Because people like your mother and June don't deserve to be forgotten. He hit pause. Tessa paled. You recorded me? Now it's your turn to confess, Marcus said quietly. Or I will. She stared at him, trembling now. I'll lose everything. So did we, he said. But we rebuilt. Maybe you should try that. That night, the videos disappeared. Her account went silent. No new posts. No more venom. 2 days later, she showed up at our door. Knees in the gravel. Crying. Hands clasped. Please. I'm sorry. She looked up at me, her face stained. Broken. I hated that June was forgiven while I was still alone. I was angry. Jealous. I wanted someone to hurt the way I did. June stepped forward slowly. I did hurt, she whispered. But not because of you. Because of me. Then Tessa looked at me. I recorded you and watched every minute, and I hated myself for it. I see now what I became. She dropped to her knees, grabbed my hand, and placed it over her heart. I'm so sorry. Marcus looked at me. His eyes were asking, can you forgive her too? I didn't speak. Not yet. Because forgiveness, that takes more than words. It takes time. But something in me softened. A little. Maybe the cycle ends when the watching stops and the seeing begins. Tessa sat in our living room like a ghost. Her once flawless posture sagged. Her face, bare, drained of the social media filter glow she used to hide behind, was finally real. She didn't ask for tea. Didn't pretend to smile. She simply said, whatever you decide. I deserve it. Marcus sat beside her. Silent. His phone still had the recording. One email to the police, one click, and her life would collapse the way ours nearly did. June watched her for a long time. then said softly, "Why us, Tessa? Why did you come after our family?" Tessa didn't flinch. "Because I once thought I'd be in your family. And I wasn't good enough. I hated your mother for loving you more than me. I hated June for becoming the woman you fought for. And then I saw the abuse." She looked at me. "I should have helped. But I used it, because hurting you all felt like winning." Her voice cracked. "I wasn't trying to expose the truth. I was trying to punish it." Marcus leaned forward. "My mother could have died out there in the snow. You didn't help. You watched." "I know," Tessa whispered. "And it's my greatest shame." She turned to me. "If you need me to spend years in prison to make it right, I'll go." My heart was quiet, but not cold. I remembered the hours I spent tied to a chair, June screaming, salt in my wounds, blood on my nightgown. I remembered Tessa's viral montage, the comments, the doxing, the nightmares. But I also remembered something deeper, what it felt like to hate yourself, to think you could never be more than your worst moment, and still hope somehow someone might offer you a way out. I looked at June, then at Marcus, then back to Tessa. "Do you want to change?" I asked gently. Her eyes filled. "I already have. We didn't press charges. We could have, and maybe we should have. But we chose something harder. We chose mercy. Not because she earned it, but because she asked for it with nothing left in her hands but regret." Marcus's powerful contacts made the case quietly disappear. He cleared our names, shut down the viral threads, and restored our digital peace. But more importantly, he rebuilt trust inside this house. No more secrets. No more lies. 3 weeks later, June received a letter. Handwritten. From Eva. It read, "You looked me in the eye and told me the truth." I didn't know what to do with that honesty at first, but now I do. Maybe some ghosts don't need to be buried. Maybe they need to be invited in. "I forgive you, June. Let's start again." June cried for hours, but not from guilt, from relief. And Tessa? She vanished from the internet. No more posts. No more filters. No more curated perfection. Instead, she got a job working at a women's shelter under an alias, helping women who had been watched and never helped. June and I visited her once, silently, unannounced. She didn't see us, but we saw her, bent over, listening to a woman sob as she held her bruised child. No phone, no camera, no glory, just kindness. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the last act of strength the wounded give to the ones who once broke them. And in this house, finally, we were strong again. Spring came slowly that year. The snow finally melted off the windowsill where I once collapsed, half dead, half forgotten. Marcus rebuilt the old back porch, said he wanted a place where we could sit and feel the sun again. June planted roses, real ones, not the artificial flowers she used to pose with for Instagram. They weren't perfect. Some were crooked, some refused to bloom. But she didn't care anymore. "It's honest," she said. "That's what matters now." I found my voice again. Not to shout, not to scream, just to speak. To tell other women, especially those my age, what I'd once been too ashamed to say out loud. I was abused. But I lived. I started writing letters to women in local nursing homes. Quiet letters. Stories, really. Not about violence, but about survival. Strength. Hope. One woman wrote back, "I thought no one else knew what it felt like. Now I know I'm not alone." That letter did something to me. It stitched something closed in my chest. June volunteered to host a small workshop at a local community center. Her topic? The power of owning what you did and choosing who you become after. She didn't sugarcoat anything. She told her story. Our story. How cruelty doesn't always come from strangers. How redemption isn't a straight path, but a jagged climb, full of broken glass and hard confessions. But how it's still possible, even after you've done unforgivable things, if you're willing to carry them with you every day and never pretend they didn't happen. Marcus started an anonymous foundation under my name. It funded emergency shelters for elderly women suffering hidden abuse from their own families. He named it the Margaret Grace Project. When I saw the logo for the first time, my name, carved into something good, I wept. Not because I was proud, but because for the first time in decades, I felt like I had value again. We didn't see Tessa again. Not in person. But one day, a package arrived. No return address. Inside was a single photograph. Me, June, Marcus, all sitting on our porch in the sun, heads back in laughter, surrounded by blooming roses. On the back, scrawled in pencil, was this: I watched you once through a lens of hate. This time, I watched through the lens of grace. Thank you for letting me learn. Some wounds don't vanish, but they can become part of the landscape. Scars woven between rose roots and morning coffee, soft apologies and silent strength. And here in this house, this once haunted place, we began to live again. Not as victims, not as villains, but as people who chose to stay and make staying worth something. Before you scroll away, I need you to hear this. If you've ever been silenced in your own home, if you've been blamed for your own bruises, if your abuser wore lipstick and smiled for guests, then please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me if you've ever forgiven someone who didn't deserve it, or if you were the one who needed forgiveness. Because this isn't just my story, it's ours. Today marks exactly 1 year since I collapsed in the snow behind our house. Locked out, forgotten, broken. That was the day I thought I would die, not from the cold, but from the knowing. The knowing that the people I loved most had left me behind. But today, I am warm. I am fed. I am loved. Marcus and June sit beside me on the garden bench Marcus built with his own hands. The rose bushes behind us bloom stronger this year. Some mornings, June talks to them, as if she's apologizing to the ground itself. And you know what? They're listening. Because they bloom brighter for her now. June's change was not overnight. Redemption never is. There were moments when I flinched at her footsteps, when I couldn't meet her eyes, when I wondered if forgiveness was weakness or simply madness. But every time I staggered under the weight of the past, June met me there with silence, with presence, with humble hands bringing soup, bandages, or just a single word, Mama. That word used to sting. Now it heals. Tessa never returned to our doorstep. She never posted again. But I later heard through someone at the shelter that she'd applied to become a licensed trauma counselor. She's starting from scratch. And maybe that's enough. Because sometimes the best apology isn't words. It's work. Marcus still keeps the video. Not to post. Not to shame. But as a reminder that evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it wears perfume and says I love you while it tightens the knot. But that same evil, once exposed, loses its power. And if the victim survives long enough to speak, it never wins. People sometimes ask me how I forgave June. And I always answer the same. I didn't forgive the cruelty. I forgave the person beneath it. Once I saw she was trying to come back to life too. Because cruelty buries people. But forgiveness unearths them. So here we are. 3 broken people. Who chose each other anyway. Who chose healing. Who chose life. Not the filtered kind. The messy, honest, painful kind. And if you're reading this, listening to this, watching this, you can choose it too. If this story spoke to you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Because behind every perfect family photo, there might be a mother left in the snow. And her story deserves to be heard.